Okay, today's lesson is 10.5. We're talking about scientific notation and division. It's extremely similar to yesterday. It's extremely similar to what we've been doing. What have we been doing, you may ask? Well, here's what we've been doing. What have we learned, kids? We've learned that when you multiply like bases with exponents, what do you do with the exponents? You add them. We've learned that when you divide like bases with exponents, you subtract them. Yeah, right. We've learned that when you have a negative exponent, you have to take the reciprocal and turn the exponent positive. You can't have negative exponents. We've learned that when you raise a power to a power, you multiply the exponents. And yesterday, we learned how to multiply scientific notation, which is our warm-ups. Pause the video, start it to check your warm-ups. Okay, so what do we do first, guys? We multiply the coefficients, don't we? That's the numbers that are on the far left. What's 8.3 times 6? 49.8 times 10. What do we do with the coefficients? What do we do with, not coefficients. We multiply the coefficients. What do we do with the exponents? We add them. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Is 4.98 or 49.8 in scientific notation? No. The decimal has to be right here in between the 4 and the 9. So I go ahead and rewrite it, 4.98 times 10. Now, I always start from the x and move to the decimal. That means I moved how many? Did I move to the right or left? So I add 1, which gives me times 10 to the 0 power. If you leave it like this, you're absolutely fine. Now, I, on purpose, did not go over this problem yesterday. I think somebody did ask about it. You guys need to start applying what you've learned. And I knew it was on the warm-ups today. Now, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. 1. So that means this is really 4.98 times 1. Well, what's 4.98 times 1? 4.98 is your answer. If you leave it like this on the test, that will be fine. Okay? Okay, let's look at the next one. 9.7 times 6. What is it, children? What? 58. I don't like the way I make my 8s with this pen. 58.2 times 10. 5 plus 3 is 8. My decimal needs to be here. 5.82 times 10. I move from the x to the decimal. I move it 1 plus 1 times 10 to the 9th power. Okay, today is the same thing, except this time we're going to divide. So the first thing we do is we divide our coefficients. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then it says here, subtract the bottom from the top. But you need to watch signs. But what did we learn? You always bring, with scientific notation, you always bring the bottom to the top. Because in scientific notation, you can have negative exponents, right? Because what does the exponent tell you? The exponent tells you okay, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay? Now, we bring the bottom to the top with scientific notation. You always bring the bottom to the top, and the exponent stays on top whether it's positive or negative when you have scientific notation. When you move something from the bottom to the top, it becomes the opposite. This is positive 3. It becomes negative 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 divided by 4 is 0.5. Bring the bottom to the top, becomes the opposite sign. 5 minus 2 is 3. Now, we don't want to know, we can't have 0.5 for scientific notation. The decimal has to be to the right of the first non-zero number. You like that one? Non-zero number? So that means it has to be here. Always move from the x to the decimal. So that means I'm going to move 1 to the left, right? So I subtract 1, I get 2. All right. You go ahead and try example 3. I'll pause the video. Okay, here we go. Let's go through this one. Now, I'm going to go, the top number goes in the calculator first. 5.6 divided by 8, that gives me 0.7 times 10. Now, remember, when you have scientific notation, you always bring the bottom number to the top number. This is why you have to go home and practice, because this creates confusion. Now, when you do negative exponents and it's not scientific notation, you can always bring the bottom to the top. Then you might have to flip it back down. However, whenever you move something across this fraction bar, you have to change the sign. That's negative 2, so it has to become a positive 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. Is that my answer? Cassandra, is that my answer? No, because the decimal has to be to the right of the first non-zero number. It means it has to be here. X marks the spot. Start from the X. I have to move 1 to get to the decimal. Which way did I move, Vanessa?
Yes.
So that means I subtract 1. 7 times 10 to the 6th power. That's pretty easy, right? Are we rocking and rolling here?
No, you go.
Go ahead and do number 5. I'll pause the video, start it back up when we get a chance to go over. Okay, here we go. So now, example number 5. 3.5 divided by 7 equals 0.5, 0.5. Times 10. Now, I always move the bottom to the top with scientific notation. This is a negative 7. When it comes up here, what does it become? Positive 7, which means that goes to the 10th power. This decimal has to be to the right of the first non-zero number. That's right here. Move from the x to the decimal. I moved 1 to the left. My answer is 5 times 10 to the 9th power. Okay, you should be able to do these. Be careful with example 7. Let's look at example 8. Anything raised to the 0 power is 1. Not 0, 1. So 3 raised to the 0 power, this is 1. This is pow. There's a 1 here. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. So it's 1 times 2 to the negative 4th power. Now, children, do I need this 1 here? No. Because 1 times anything is anything. So whatever this 2 to the negative 4th power is, that's what the answer is going to be. So I can just leave this 1 off. Now, let me clarify that. If you had this 3 to the 0 power, you can't just leave nothing. You have to write 1. But if it's being multiplied to something, you can just leave it bye-bye. What do I have to do to 2 to the negative 4th power to make this something that I can work with? Crickets. That's all I can hear, kids. If you're watching on the internet, I want you to know all I can hear is crickets. What do I have to do with 2 to the negative 4th power? Broccoli! Broccoli. You have to broccoli. What do you have to do with negative exponents to turn them positive? Yeah, you have to take the reciprocal of it. That's the technical term. This is really 2 to the negative 4th over 1. Now I need to make it 1 over 2 to the positive 4th power. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. This equals 1 to the 16th power. If you put this into your calculator, go ahead, put it just like it appears. 3 raised to the 0 power, arrow over, parentheses, 2 parentheses, raised to the negative 4th power, arrow over, equals, what does it tell you? 1 over 16. That's right, 1 over 16. Okay. Now, is the negative 6x, is it in parentheses, kids? No. So this is not pow-pow. What gets raised to the 0 power? Again, crickets. We have crickets in the classroom, kids. What gets raised to the 0 power? I'm going to pause the video because we may be here a while. Okay, those of you who are watching on the internet, that only took about 35 minutes, but we finally got the answer. Only the x gets raised to the 0 power. Kids, x is a number, we just don't know what it is. You always want to put the exponent with the number. No, it's not to the left. This would be 6 raised to the 0 power. So, x raised to the 0 power, what does that turn x into? Kids, let's pause the video again. We may be here a while. Okay, kids, we're back. That only took an hour and a half. So we've wasted 2 hours on 2 problems. So 6 to the 0 power is 1. What's negative 6 times 1? Oh my goodness. Wow. We don't know what negative 6 times 1 is. Negative 6 times 1 is? Yeah. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. What's 253 raised to the 0 power? 1. So this becomes 1. Now this is pow-pow. So what's 1 times negative 2? So this becomes negative 3 raised to the negative 2 power. 1 times negative 3 raised to the negative 2 power is negative 3 raised to the negative 2 power. I don't need the 1. However, what do I have to do to get the exponent positive, kids? Have to take the reciprocal. This is just like negative 3 to the negative 2nd power over 1. Have to make this 1 over negative 3 squared. Now, you figure out what 1 to the negative 1 over negative 3 squared equals. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, we're back. That only took about 45 minutes. Whew. We came up with this equals 1 over 9 because negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3. Negative times a negative is a positive. All right. Distributed practice, you're on your own. If you have any questions, come in and ask.